Hi, my name is Rebecca Jacobson. I'm the Director of Training and Strategy for Youth Ministry Consultants, and I'm so excited to share with you a resource that we created because you asked us to. We recently did a strategic student ministry webinar, and this came up as something that would serve you. And so we are happy to create tools and resources to best serve you. So today we're going to walk through the tools so that you can plan your entire calendar in one sitting. It sounds intimidating, but I promise it can be done. So let's take a look at this resource. We're really excited to share it with you. Before we start getting into the nitty-gritty of planning a calendar, we need to start with why we do what we do. So for a lot of us, this means our vision statement, our mission for our ministry. A lot of you might already have this, and some of you, this might be like I'm speaking a foreign language. So if you're new to this, please don't be intimidated. A vision statement is really just the dream of the future that motivates you to action, that leads you to want to do more to see that future come to reality. And so there's a couple good places to start when you're forming these vision statements. The first is the mission statement of your church. The student ministry, the children's ministry is a piece of the larger church. And so we want to make sure that anything we do stays consistent with the vision of our overall church. So that's a great place to start. A lot of people just adapt their church's vision statement to work with their student ministry. So feel free to do that. Another thing to look at is when you pray, what do you find yourself praying for? Is it reaching new students? Is it seeing people grow deep in their faith? Is it seeing them be moved to action in their faith, serving and loving people more? What do you see in this season specifically that you really want to see God bring about? Your prayers will be a great hint at what your vision for your ministry is. And then spend some time just dreaming about if God could do anything, which can happen, what do you want to see happen? What are your wildest dreams for your ministry? And start to journal that out, put it on paper, dream about what this could look like. So here's a template for you to use as you work through this. Doodle, make all sorts of notes. And then boil these down into one sentence. There's an example here for you, but take this and really make it one guiding statement that you can use as you think about your ministry. Next, we're going to take some time and we're just going to evaluate what is already happening in the life of your church. We're going to do a check-in. So what's going on now? What things have you done in the past year that have gone really, really well that you want to repeat? What are some things that you maybe want to do differently? It could be a small tweak. It could be a whole overhaul. But what are the things that, as you reflect on the last year, that you can either change or continue to do that have strengthened your ministry? This next section is really important, and we don't do it that often, but take a look at who's in your group. Chances are it's not all one type of student. They're not all in the same place in their spiritual journey. And so think of some categories that might fit your students. Now, this isn't an end all be all, and not everybody will just fit into specific groups. But if you think about it, who are the kids who are really pursuing their faith and they're growing and they're really engaged? And who are the students who come and have fun, but maybe aren't pursuing their faith at the same rate? Who are the ones that come because they're friends and they come sometimes and you're starting to build that relationship? And who's really disengaged? Who is not really motivated to come? If those fit for your group, feel free to use them, but there might be other sections that work better for your group. So think of some different categories that fit and put a little percentage by each of who might fit in that group. The next is just dreaming about what do you hope to see God do in your ministry this year? Big, small, everything in between. What do you want to see God do? And moving on from that, what things can you do to help bring that about in your ministry? So if you want to reach more students, how are you building relationships? How are you teaching your students to build those relationships and minister to their friends? If it's service, what relationships in your communities are you building to create pathways there for them to serve? And then a space for any other notes, things that come up as you're thinking about this that you want to keep in mind as you plan your calendar. So here are the things you're going to need for this exercise. The first, you're going to want to gather major dates. So these are holidays, the church calendar, school activities, especially if your students are attending one school. You're going to want all of those major events on the calendar so that you are thinking about them as you plan your entire year. Your ministry launch date, your ministry wrap-up date. When are you starting and stopping for the year? Second, you're going to want your ministry major events. So your retreats, your service nights, your traditions, all of the things that happen on a yearly basis, you know they're coming and you can plug them right in. Third, you want your topics and your lessons. So if you're going to cover identity, how many weeks do you want to talk about it? If you're going to cover relationships, think about the specific lessons underneath those topics as we plug those into the calendar. Next is games. If you don't play games in your group, think of other activities or components of your programming that you want to include. Bring back the old favorites and make a list of the new ones that you want to try this year. And the last, and really importantly, is your personal calendar. Gather the things that are happening in your life this year. If you're in school, when are finals? If you have kids, when are their birthdays? When is the end of the school year for your family? Think about your family rhythm, your personal rhythm. It is 100% okay to take that into consideration as we make plans. It just makes you better at what you do when you recognize your capacity and you live into it way before you need to. You just plan accordingly so that you can serve well in those seasons. So once you have all of those things, you're going to find a space. Well, here's your template that you can do that yourself, but find a space. And here's the steps to plan your entire calendar in one sitting. You're going to need Post-its, markers, and a big blank space. The first step is to write each month that you hold programming. So let's say you start in September, you're going to pop September up on the wall. And on that Post-it note, you're going to write the month and you're going to write the number of weeks that you have programming. So in this example, there's 3 weeks of programming in September. And so you're going to put the month and then right below it, you're going to do one for each week that you have programming. On that second Post-it, you're going to write the topic and the lesson that you plan to cover on those weeks. The beautiful thing is that these are all movable. So as you see it come together, you can move lessons and topics around as they best fit your year. So next, you're going to pop up any special events that are happening. So if there's a church-wide serve night in September, that gets its own spot. You might not be doing programming, but you're still going to be talking about that and recruiting students for it. So it goes on your calendar. Below that, step 4, you're going to move into your activities, your games, other elements of your programming. Have it right below that line, and you can plan all of the different games and activities for the month. Feel free to repeat them as the year goes on, but you're going to start just sticking up all of these games throughout the whole year. The next line is any announcements, any notes that you need to have. If there's an event coming up with permission slips, put that on a couple weeks before so that it's on your radar. If it's the beginning of the year and you want your leaders talking about building relationships, put it on the calendar so that you know to bring that up with your team. The wonderful thing about this is you can add as many rows as you want, different elements of your programming. If you have a discussion time at the front end, you can put questions on there. If you have extreme challenges, you can put those on here. Anything that you want, notes for your leaders, the sky is the limit. Add as many rows as you want. But by the end of it, what you'll have is month by month, week by week, an outline of your programming for the entire year. Now, when you get to step 5, you're going to take a step back after you have this wall filled with Post-its, and you're going to take a look and you're going to go back to our check-in activity that we already did, and you're going to evaluate the plan in front of you. Don't be afraid to move Post-its around as you see rhythms happening in the life of your church, in the life of your ministry. pay attention to the audiences that you identified. As you look at this plan, are all of them represented somewhere in this plan? The kids that really need discipleship, the kids that really need fun and relationship, the kids that are on this side of the spectrum and the kids that are on this side of the spectrum, do they all have a space to belong in this plan? Have you thought of all of them? Have you achieved your vision in this? Is there ways for you to lean into what you hope God will do? If there's anything missing, take some time and get creative about how you can plug that in, how you can tweak things, how you can add things. You might need to subtract things to make room, but make sure you see that vision represented in the overall plan. So from that point, you just take a picture, put it in a digital calendar, find a way to capture all the work that you've done, and you have your calendar all in one sitting. Now, this might not be what plays out exactly, but you have a fantastic starting point as you launch your year. You never know what God's going to do. You never know when your students are going to need to pivot and talk about something else. But this is a fantastic way to get organized, to be able to be thinking about things ahead of time, be prepared for topics well before you get there. If you use this, you're going to see yourself grow in tremendous ways in your preparation, in your organization, even in your communication, as you have more time to think about the things you're going to be sharing with students. We would love to keep talking with you about this. If you want to work through this with a coach, if you want to talk to me about it more, we would be happy to. My email is rebecca@youthministryconsultants.org. You can reach out to me. I'd be happy to connect with you or connect you with one of our fabulous coaches. One of the great things I love about YMC is we offer no cost coaching for churches that need a coach and don't have a budget for it. And so we would love to get you connected to one of those. We also have cohorts and online training and all sorts of fun stuff. So please check us out online, youthministryconsultants.org, and we hope to serve you in the future. We are so excited for what God's going to do in your ministry this year, and I hope that we can be a resource to you and serve you along the way. Thank you.